is this? No, 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 no! So Umbrella Academy Season 2 just came out this weekend, and I really enjoyed Season 1, so I was eagerly awaiting Season 2 to finally drop. And Season 2 picks up right where Season 1 left off, where Vanya was the cause of the apocalypse that Number 5 tried to stop last season. Unable to stop the apocalypse, 5 uses his powers to time travel to take his family back to the past for a do-over to once and for all stop the apocalypse. But, you know, time travel is never simple, and so 5 and his family end up scattered in different years throughout the 1960s in Dallas, Texas, with 5 arriving in November of 1963. But the apocalypse has also followed them, this time in the form of a nuclear war with the Soviet Union. So once again, it's up to 5 to reunite with his family to prevent this new apocalypse. And I gotta say, Season 2 of Umbrella Academy definitely kicked ass. Like, I enjoyed this season so much more than I enjoyed Season 1. And funny enough, Netflix actually released the opening scene and opening moment, but I purposely stayed away from it. But I know a lot of people watched it, but because I didn't watch it, like, I had no idea this season was gonna start with such a bang in the way that it did. And I loved even just this opening 3 or 4 minutes of this second season. And in just this opening scene, they pretty much let you know right from jump that this season is going to be way more comic booky than the first season. And I mean, because Netflix did release the opening moment online for all to see, it is fair game for me to talk about. And so in that opening moment, you do see the Umbrella Academy, Vanya, Klaus, Allison, Luther, and Diego banding together almost Justice League style to fight the Soviet Union, who has invaded the United States, declaring all-out war and them using their powers to fight this army of Soviet soldiers. And 5 arrives basically in the middle of this war, and just like the audience, he's wondering what the hell is going on. And just in watching the way that scene was crafted, like, it was cool to basically see these characters come together and using their powers in ways that you never seen in Season 1. And then also in this one scene alone, like, the action and just the way the show was shot, like, it was brilliant. And really my only complaint for that opening scene was that it didn't go on longer. Like, I just loved that opening scene. I was just like, oh wow, if the whole show is like this, I'm definitely gonna enjoy this season. So then 5 jumps back 10 days earlier, and he's trying to figure out what causes this new apocalypse. And with that, you get to see what the rest of the Umbrella Academy's life was like before 5 arrived. Because again, as I mentioned, they all scattered throughout different times within the 1960s. And so Klaus and Ben arrived in 1960. They were the first to arrive, followed by Allison, who arrived in 1961, then Luther in 1962, then Diego arrived September 1st, 1963, and then Vanya arrived 1 month later in October of 1963. Yeah, I really enjoyed seeing all their stories unfold in this timeline that they're not supposed to be in, that they have no family and no connection, and seeing how they essentially made it. Also, Ben, the dead brother from Season 1, like, even he got to do way more this season, and it made me appreciate not only his character, but it made me really like the actor even more. And I mean, even though you got to see him last season, a lot of the lighting for his character was pretty dark because he was dead and Klaus didn't really know how to use his powers that much. But this season, the way they used Ben and the way they lit him and stuff like that, you got to see more of the actor's face. And I was looking at the actor Justin Min, and I was just like, I mean, look at him. Hey, daddy. Also, talking about enjoying a lot of the side stories with the characters outside of the apocalypse, like with Allison being the only black member of the Umbrella Academy, and then also landing in 1961, which is 3 years before the Civil Rights Act and 4 years before the Voting Rights Act. I really appreciated that they really went into race and racism within this show, because more times than not, I feel like comic books and comic book movies and television shows would just ignore race and racism with their black characters. Like, even take take a show like Legends of Tomorrow, which also deals with time travel, like I believe they only mentioned and focused on race in one episode, and yet pretty much all black people know, unless you're going to the future, time travel and black people just does not mix well, because the further and further back you go, the worse off it is for us. Unless you go so far back that it's before colonialism, but then you're ending up in ancient Africa and you don't even speak the language anyway, so either way you're screwed. And it's the same thing with like comic books. I made a post on Facebook the other day where I talk about how X-Men, where the mutants are supposed to be an allegory for an oppressed minority, whether that's the LGBTQ community, black people, Native Americans, etc., and you have mutants that are persecuted and hated by society because they were simply born different. But then you also have, for example, a mutant like Storm, who is not only just a mutant, which is hated by society, but she's also a black woman, but you never really have her deal with not only being hated by society for being a mutant, you never really see a storyline with her dealing with being hated because she's black or having to deal with sexism because she's a woman. And me personally, I feel like it's just a missed opportunity because there's so many stories to tell between the intersectionality of her being a mutant, black, and a woman. And so with that, I do appreciate that Umbrella Academy dove into that storyline for this season. And it also kind of shows you that really 1961, 62, 63, the Kennedy assassination, all of that stuff, the assassination of Dr. King, Jim Crow was not that long ago. Like my parents, not my grandparents, not my great-grandparents, my parents were born when Jim Crow was still the law of the land. And my parents are thankfully still alive. So it was not that long ago. So that when people always try to talk about, oh, why you always have to talk about race and all this other stuff, it's like, because it's still prevalent, it's still prominent within society, because again, it wasn't that long ago. Black people weren't officially free in this country on paper until really 1970. And my brother was born in 72. So it's like, come on now. And then there's been stuff happening even after that and still happening to this day. And funny enough, it's also interesting that they finished and wrote this season of Umbrella Academy long before all the protests and everything that's going on in America currently, and it just feels so timely right now with the things that were happening, particularly Allison's storyline. And for this to come out now, it just goes to show that the more things change, really, the more things stay the same. And I mean, Allison even touched on it in this show where she says, yeah, it does ultimately get better, but we're still fighting a lot of the same battles that we've been fighting since the 60s and even before that. But anyway, this show also introduced a lot of new characters that I loved. Specifically, a character that's introduced in Diego's storyline that I won't go into because I'm not going to talk about spoilers, but I loved her character and I really hope to see more of her going forward into season 3 because she was definitely my favorite addition to this season. And another character that I really enjoyed, played by Yusef Gatewood, who actually is a part of Allison's storyline. And actually, the first time I saw this actor was in the CW show, The Originals. Also, I'd be remiss if I go through this entire review and not talk about Aidan Gallagher, who plays Five. Like, first of all, Five has definitely been proven from last season and even this season to be my favorite member of the Umbrella Academy. But Aidan Gallagher is just such a phenomenal actor. Now, granted, they're all great actors, but Aidan, I believe that this 17-year-old boy is playing an old man trapped in a teenager's body. Like, just his mannerisms and the way he acts, like everything about Aidan is just phenomenal in terms of his acting. Now, granted, I've been seeing a lot of memes go around saying that they want Aidan Gallagher to play Damian Wayne, and I understand the sentiment behind the memes, but at the same time, Damian Wayne is half Asian, and as far as I know, Aidan Gallagher isn't half Asian. So if he does play a Robin, I'm fine with him playing Tim Drake or a young Jason Todd. Please let's not The Last Airbender Damian Wayne. But with that said, Aidan Gallagher, he's definitely gonna go far in his career. Like, he is awesome. But yeah, I feel like everything about this show that I enjoyed, they definitely took season 2 and kicked it up to a number 11. Pun. And like, that includes the weirdness of this show. Like, I remember when I first saw the character of Pogo, a walking, talking monkey, and I was just like, yo, what the hell is this show? Like, I thought it really couldn't get any weirder than that. But they introduced this one character this season that makes Pogo look virtually normal. I'm just like, what the hell? This is so weird, but I love every single second of it. And I say this all the time, the things that I love in my fantasy are blood, sex, gore, and magic. And I definitely feel like they went way more violent with this season than they did last season. And of course, I loved it. Like I mentioned earlier, like from the opening moment, the action scenes, not even just in the opening moment, but throughout this entire season were just so damn good. And not even just the action scenes, but just the effects for this season was just brilliant. And it just looked movie quality. And for everything that happened this season, like I really appreciated how much attention they paid to the special effects. Like they definitely did not look like CW special effects, because a lot of the special effects on the CW, they just look trash. But they were not trash on Umbrella Academy season 2. And that's not to say the special effects on season 1 were bad, but the effects just looked so much better this season. The music and the score for this show was pretty damn good. Like one thing that they did for season 1 is taking a lot of popular songs and kind of remixing them for this season to kick up the level of fun for this season, or taking a song that you would never think would go for an action song. Like you think about season 1 during this scene with Five taking out a lot of those people from the Time Bureau in that diner, and then they played that song, Istanbul, it's Constantinople, Istanbul, and it's like you would not think to have that song played during an action scene, but it worked. And they do that again during this season, where they take a lot of songs and they remix it for the action scenes, or even for the non-action scenes. Just the music and score that they have playing throughout this season, like it was just great. Now with that said, I am giving a lot of praise for season 2, and I did say I enjoyed season 2 more than season 1, but I do have some gripes and things that I did not like for this season, and they aren't necessarily major issues, but at the end of the day, there's still issues that I had with this season. Like for example, I mentioned that Five traveled back in time and he realized there's an apocalypse looming, and so he has to reunite with his family to stop the apocalypse. What does that sound like? That's basically the entire storyline for season 1. So I'm just like, oh, so we're basically doing this all over again? Like, okay. I felt like that Sunshine Anderson song where it's like, heard it all before. However, because I enjoyed the opening scene so much and it was a different type of apocalypse, I didn't hate the idea, but I was just still like, we've done this already, so we're doing it again. And also going with the theme of retreading a lot of the same waters, I kind of feel like they did that with Vanya's storyline, even though, again, I really liked a lot of the storylines for the other siblings, and I really did enjoy Vanya's storyline. Without getting too much into spoilers, I do feel like they retreaded a lot of the same waters with Vanya from season 1 into season 2. Thankfully though, they didn't stick with it for the entire season, and they wrapped a lot of it up pretty quickly and changed it up a bit, but it was still retreading a lot of the same beats. And finally, while I did say I enjoyed a lot of the family's side stories outside of the apocalypse, that doesn't apply to Luther. I feel like out of all the characters, Luther's storyline was pretty bland. He didn't really have anything to do, and so it made me become pretty bored every time his character was on screen, and they focused on his character because he didn't really have anything to do. His character didn't really grow that much from season 1. He was just there, and it kind of disappointed me considering that we've seen his character's powers grow and him become so much more powerful to the point that he took a missile to the back during that opening scene of the first episode of season 2. You didn't really see that much of a payoff from that by the end of the season. Like his character didn't really, to me, he didn't really progress that much. And I'm not just talking about in terms of his powers, I'm just talking about him, period. And because he was so bland, I'm just like, how did he even get to be number 1? Like, he's not the smartest of the group, and especially this season, he just seemed dumb as hell. And even before Vanya discovered her powers, he's not the most powerful of the group. I'm just like, really? He's number 1 because of white privilege. I mean, let's be honest. Now, granted, Klaus is white, and so is number 5. He's the tallest and the only one that's blonde hair and got blue eyes, so yeah. That's why he's number 1, not because he's actually good. Trash. I'm just like, white supremacy is one hell of a drug, I tell you. But regardless of those gripes, I really enjoyed season 2 of Umbrella Academy. I would definitely say and recommend for you to check it out. But of course, with that said, like, if you're going into this season not having seen season 1, definitely watch season 1 first, because A, you probably wouldn't know what's happening, especially considering this season kicks off right at the end of season 2. So you would be completely lost had you not seen season 1. But then also, you won't really appreciate it as much. I believe Netflix released like a recap of season 1, but I still say watch season 1 first before you get into season 2. So I would say Umbrella Academy season 2 is a definite blockbuster. But the question is, have you guys seen Umbrella Academy season 2? What did you think about it? What season did you like more, season 1 or season 2? Let me know down in the comment section below. Also, if you can, hit that thumbs up button and like this video. It'll really help out the channel. And if this is your first time watching one of my videos, please check out the other videos on my channel. And if you like what you see, please subscribe for more and hit that bell notification button so you're alerted every single time I post a new video. And tell your friends, families, and neighbors about my channel to help me continue to grow. And as always, I will catch you guys next time.